Before starting, I based my face, well, half my face, with my regular foundation, and then we are going to move into doing our highlight and shadow, starting with shadow. When masculinizing the face, you want to emphasize height and angles. So you want things to be tall and square. And so we are starting with a really strong vertical temple and blending that back into the hairline so you don't have a weird, halo at the edge of your head. You want to pull that shadow all the way back into your hair, but again, keeping it very square and vertical. For the masculine cheek shadow, I like to do actually a downward curve. It starts out fairly horizontal and then midway dips. It's almost an S, actually, if you can see that sort of double curve. I'm going to cross hatch so that I can blend my shadow out from that line, but again, I am emphasizing height. I am trying to make the face longer, and so by doing that shape. For the jaw, we want to keep it really square. So rooted at the base of the ear, you're going to go straight down and then turn that angle. Blend it down into the neck. Some people do an Adam's apple, and you can do Adam's apple shadows if you want. They're not the most necessary, so tall, square. We also want to emphasize the brow ridge because testosterone tends to lead to a very strong, defined brow ridge over the eyes. And so I'm kind of drawing a seagull in flight shape, and I'm going to feather that up, blending up that little seagull. I also had base on half of my face, so the one side blends a little differently when it's on base skin. With the nose, we want to widen and lengthen the nose. And so, remember, the nose is really tight real estate, so it doesn't take a lot to move the nose wider. It's very easy to make it too wide. So you just want to go a little bit wider than you normally would. It also helps to emphasize the bridge between the bony part of the nose and the cartilagey part of the nose. So there's like a little waist there. And so here you see I just kind of give it a little flick. So it's not a straight line, but there is bone and cartilage. I am pulling that shadow down past the tip. I am not shortening the nose at all. By pulling the shadow all the way down, I actually add a little bit of length. When I get to highlight, you'll see that I also pull the highlight down. I'm going to emphasize the nostril with some shadow and also pull down just a little bit into the nasolabial fold. Lines tend to add roughness and age, and since we're trying to kind of rough up the face and make it feel a little more heavy and more masculine, that little bit of nasolabial fold goes a long way. A shadow in the philtrum. I'm going to also get our shadow under the lip, which will blend up. If you want to do a cleft chin, you can. You don't have to, but it's an option. So we're going to blend that shadow up. I am going to also do just a little bit of shadow at the bottom of the eye socket, that little crease of the eye. I'm not doing full-fledged old age eye bags, but again, I'm trying to distract from the feminine. I'm going to shadow the crease of the eye, just so we've got some nice functional definition. And working on that brow ridge, if I pull a little thin shadow up at the corner of the eyebrow and feather it in, I am making that brow stronger and bonier and more rugged. Just working on blending the nose shadows. Clean off my brush or switch brushes, but we're going to move over to highlight. And with highlight, we are going to want to really push that brow bone, brow ridge, and also push the forehead high and tall. And so the highlight is actually way up by the hairline, above that blended seagull. Feather some edges. A little bit of highlight on the brow bone, on the lid, because we still want our eyes to have definition. On the nose, I am starting my highlight below the eyebrows, and I actually pull the highlight down over the edge of the tip a little bit. Some highlight on the nostrils. And I want to highlight either side of the philtrum and feather those out. I'm going to put some highlight on the chin, which will go opposite that shadow, and it will blend down. And on the cheek, you want the hottest part of the highlight to be kind of out at the top of the zygomatic arch, because again, we want to add some width to the face so that our face feels bigger. And you also want to pull that highlight, so yeah, emphasizing width, you also want to pull that highlight down the cheek to keep adding height. With the nose, don't feather the top of it too much. You don't need to put a shadow there, but by leaving it base, you are going to make the brow ridge again feel a little heavier and a little more prominent. So now I'm just going to carry that highlight down a bit more vertically. Most of my heat kind of at the high part of the cheekbone. I want to keep a nice square jaw highlight. I want to have a really nice, strong, prominent jaw. And it will blend up so that we have a good distinction between the jaw highlight and the jaw shadow. And so here's kind of the basic masculine contour. Last thing we want to do is we want to pour our powder on the puff, make a little powder taco. I did not make the sound effect when I was recording this. And then I'm going to